A black beggar is shocked to recognize her childhood photo in the millionaire's mansion. Claire's fingers trembled as she pulled open the heavy wooden door of the crumbling mansion. The cold bit at her skin, her breath puffing out in quick, desperate clouds. A shiver raced down her spine, not just from the chill, but from the eerie silence cloaking the house. Paint peeled like dead skin from the walls, and the cracked windows stared back like empty eyes. This place felt like a secret hiding spot, a dead end she could finally call shelter from the brutal streets. Her boots echoed softly on the broken tile floor as she edged further inside. Then, there it was. An old, battered frame lay face down on a dusty table, begging for discovery. Claire flipped it over. She froze. The photograph was faded, edges curled and torn, but the faces were clear. A smiling little girl with dark eyes and tight curls, and a wealthy family posed behind her, all dressed to the nines, laughing in some sunlit garden. It was her. The girl in the picture was her, years ago, in a life she barely remembered. The family had taken her in for a time, a luxury she never imagined she'd have again. The crowd in that photo radiated wealth and ease, so far removed from the cold nights and hunger that gnawed at her now. Her chest tightened. A lump crawled up her throat. Why had they left her? Forgotten her like some broken thing? Betrayal stung, sharp as the freezing wind outside. She slumped against the wall, heart hammering. This was a clue, a bridge to the ghost of a past she thought was lost. A flicker of hope flared inside her chest. Maybe, just maybe, answers waited behind these walls. Answers about who she was, why she'd been abandoned. Claire wiped the grime from her face, caught in a sudden surge of courage mixed with rage. There was a gala tonight, wealth dripping like honey at billionaire Henry's mansion down the street. Henry, infamous, the kind of man folks whispered about with disgust and fear. And this could be the same place where the family lived. If she could slip inside, maybe she could find the truth. Steeling herself, Claire slipped out into the night, the cold biting her face, but her mind burning with questions. Could she face a world that had never wanted her? Could she unveil the secrets hidden beneath layers of silk gowns and champagne flutes? What shadows hovered over Henry's family? And would uncovering those shadows put her in danger? She pictured the grand ballroom, glittering chandeliers and polished floors, the swirling gowns and cold, judging eyes. Could one forgotten girl from the streets shake the empire of a man like Henry? Could she survive the night? Her hands clenched into fists, knuckles pale under the dim street light. Torn between fear and hope, Claire realized this was more than a search for her past. It was a fight for her future. Was she ready to pay the price? Or would the truth bury her forever? The mansion's dark windows seemed to watch her as she vanished into the city, heart pounding with questions no one had the answer to yet. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Claire ducked into the shadows, the chill in the air now an afterthought compared to the fire burning in her chest. She navigated the ornate gardens leading to billionaire Henry's mansion. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses spilling out into the night like a golden invitation. The grand entrance loomed ahead, a promise of answers that could unravel her entire life. As she approached, her heart raced with a mix of determination and dread. What if they recognized her? What if she was too late? Clenching her fists, she glanced back at the framed photograph tucked under her arm, a lifeline to the girl she had once been. That girl had been lost, but Claire felt her spirit whispering, "Ooh!" Then, a flash of movement caught her eye. Two figures slipped out from the side of the mansion, their laughter ringing sharp as broken glass in the otherwise elegant night. It was Henry himself, his expensive suit clinging to him like a second skin, leaning in close to a woman with an air of confidence that matched his wealth. Claire's breath caught as she recognized her. It was Melissa, the same woman in the photograph, lounging in the garden with that bright smile and shining curls. But this time, the curls hung loose and wild, her laughter twisted with malicious undertones. Claire's head spun. The woman who had once been a mother to her, who had charmed her with warmth, had somehow transitioned into a confident predator. Claire's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. She watched as Henry whispered something in Melissa's ear, each word flowing like poison. Claire's instincts flared. She needed to confront her past. Surely her mere presence would shatter the facade they had relied upon for so long. With a deep breath, Claire stepped toward the entrance, ready to storm inside. But as she crossed the threshold, the scene shifted violently. The moment her foot touched the marble floor, a deafening crash resonated throughout the mansion. The chandelier overhead splintered, sending shards of crystal raining down like deadly stars. Gasps filled the air, and the guests scattered in panic, their silk gowns and polished shoes forgotten amid the chaos. In the whirlwind of confusion, Claire's eyes locked onto Melissa. The woman's face twisted in shock, then rapidly transformed into fury. "You!" Melissa shouted, pointing directly at Claire. Her voice sliced through the clamor, silencing the chaos for a heartbeat. Claire's blood ran cold. Every doubt, every uncertainty froze in place. "What are you doing here?" Henry's voice boomed as he stepped forward, rage radiating off him. The guests recoiled from the scene unfolding before them, eyes darting from Claire to the couple, mirroring their own confusion and curiosity. The sudden shift in the atmosphere was electric. Claire felt the air thicken, panic settling in her stomach like a stone. She had expected to confront her past, but not in this moment. A moment where she was framed as the intruder, a threat to their pristine lives. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a flicker. A shadow melded with the panic, slipping through the chaotic crowd. A child. A small boy with dark curls darted past her like a bullet, and Claire's heart turned over in her chest. He looked so familiar, an echo from the distant past. "Mummy!" the boy cried, rushing toward Melissa. The room stilled. Claire's breath hitched. Melissa knelt, her expression morphing from anger to something unfathomable, a mix of desperation and hatred. "What are you doing? Get back here!" she shouted, her voice breaking. The boy hesitated, confusion clouding his face. Claire's heart thundered. Was this? In that instant, the revelation struck her like a blow. Was this child hers? Had she been a victim not only of abandonment, but of a lie that ran deeper than she ever imagined? The tension hung thick in the air, every gaze now directed at Claire. Who was she to them? What was her true connection to this family? The tangled web of relationships, secrets, and lies began to unfurl, leaving the room pulsating with uncertainty. And as Claire stood frozen at the edge of this new reality, she felt the eyes of the past bearing down on her. The weight of truth threatening to crumble her whole world. Would she rise to claim her identity? Or would the shadows beneath the glittering surface consume her? Claire hurried through the frigid streets, heart pounding like a drum. The chilling wind howled, but her thoughts were ablaze. The gala at Henry's mansion, a chance to uncover the truth, to confront a past she thought was lost. As she made her way to the grand house, she paused, catching her breath outside the wrought iron gates. They loomed like a dark promise. Inhaling deeply, she gripped her scarf tighter around her neck and stepped through. The night buzzed with laughter and music, warm light spilling from inside like a siren's call, wrapping around her as she approached the entrance. Inside, the ballroom shimmered. Crystal chandeliers hung like stars, illuminating the sea of elegant gowns and tailored suits. Claire felt out of place, a moth drawn to a flame. Her heart raced, the pulse thundering in her ears, drowning out the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses. She was nobody here, but the photo burned in her pocket, a flicker of hope guiding her through the crowd. As she slipped through the throng, she kept her gaze low. Warmth enveloped her like a comforting blanket until she spotted him. Henry. He stood tall and imposing, surrounded by friends, exuding an aura of power and wealth. But then, just behind him, Claire's breath caught. A woman with striking resemblance to the smiling girl in the photo. Her mother. Claire's mind spun. The woman's laughter echoed in her ears, a memory long buried. Her heart leapt. Could she confront her? But the swirling crowd swallowed her, pushing her closer to the stage where a band played. Just as she drew near, a sudden crash cut through the music. Glass shattered. The room fell silent, all eyes drawn to the scene. A man staggered back, blood dripping from his hand as chaos erupted. Gasps filled the air. But Claire's focus was narrowed, locked on Henry. His face twisted into shock, eyes darting away from the man who had collapsed at his feet. Claire felt the familiar knot of uncertainty unfurl into panic. Something was wrong. The air was thick with tension, as if the very walls held secrets aching to be released. Then it happened. The fallen man lifted his head, and Claire felt a jolt of recognition. It was a face from her past, the kind, gentle man who had been her guardian long ago. He was supposed to be dead. The whispers about him had been everywhere. The air swirled with disbelief as he staggered to his feet, revealing a hidden knife tucked under his bloodied hand. "What are you doing here?" Henry spat, panic flickering in his eyes like a candle fighting against the wind. "I'm here for the truth," the man growled, his voice ragged. "And it's time for you to pay." The shift in the room was electric. What truth? Claire's heart raced. The floor felt unsteady beneath her feet. Her past was colliding with her present in a horrifying way. The ballroom transformed from a place of glitz to a stage for revelation and danger. Gasps echoed as Claire reached for the man. He blinked at her, recognition dawning in his eyes. "Claire," he whispered, and the world seemed to halt. Then Henry's voice cut through the tension, a mask of calm re-emerging. "You're just a beggar. What do you know?" Claire's breath hitched. Fear pricked at her, igniting memories she had fought hard to forget. Desperately, she grasped at the crumbling edges of her identity, heart racing, questions swirling. Before she could fully process, an explosion of sound shattered the silence. A gunshot rang out, echoing wildly, and everything went dark. What had just happened? The consequences forged in that instant would change everything. Claire stumbled back, her mind a whirlwind. She had come for answers, but now the truth loomed, dark and terrifying, threatening to engulf her whole. The gunshot rang loud and clear, shattering the moment into chaos. Claire stumbled back, her heart racing. The crowd gasped, their faces paled, eyes wide as they stared towards the source of the sound. Fear rippled through the room, a palpable wave, shaking the glistening chandeliers overhead. Her world twisted. Henry's face shifted from rage to complete shock. The fallen man lay still on the floor, blood pooling around him, a surreal contrast to the opulence of the ballroom. Time stretched and warped as Claire's mind raced. What was happening? The truth she craved felt closer, yet impossibly distant. Then, in the thick of the horror, the unexpected emerged. The gunman, still shrouded in shadows, stepped forward, hands raised. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice breaking through the panic. His face flickered into the light, familiar features sparking recognition in Claire's heart. It was David, the gentleman who had once been her protector. But he wore a different mask now, a desperate man, frenetically searching for answers. "David?" Claire croaked, confusion clawing at her throat. His eyes darted toward her, a mixture of relief and fear blanketing his face. "You're alive? I thought you were dead, Claire." His voice was raw, urgency pouring out with every word. "I should have been there for you." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Eyes flitted from Claire to David, confusion morphing shock into an uneasy tension. Henry stepped closer, fists clenched. "What's going on? You're supposed to be gone." In that instant, the world crumbled. "You set this up!" David's voice thundered, pointing an accusing finger at Henry. "You thought silencing me would keep your secret safe." Claire's heart skipped. "Secrets? Secrets." Silenced? The room felt suffocating, each detail blurred. She clutched the photo in her pocket, that simple image holding pieces of a shattered past. "What secrets?" she whispered, searching David's face for clarity, for truth. "Everything," he shouted, eyes blazing. "Your mother, She didn't abandon you. She was forced to give you up. There were deals, heavy debts owed by Henry's family. The truth is twisted, but it was never your fault. You were a pawn in their game. A collective gasp rippled through the assembled guests. Breathless silence fell. Claire pivoted, her heart racing. The lies she had chased for years began to fray, revealing something darker lurking beneath. "The boy," she stammered, remembering the small child who had called Melissa Mommy. "Is he?" "Your brother," David admitted, voice trembling as realization dawned over the crowd. "They took him, made it look like you meant nothing. But you both share the same blood." Claire's mind spun, each word sinking like a stone into her heart. Everything she thought she'd known shattered into a million shards. The laughter she had craved, the mother she longed for, it all felt tainted. Suddenly, a screeching siren cut through the confusion, loud and insistent. Blue lights bathed the ballroom in harsh reality. "Get down!" a voice shouted, as officers stormed through the entrance, weapons drawn. The frantic energy surged, shifting again. David grabbed Claire's arm, pulling her toward the exit. "We have to go, now!" Stood frozen, a whirlwind of emotions crashing around her. Family? Lies? The weight of the world pressed in on her, but she didn't know where to run. "Claire!" David's voice pierced through. "This is just the beginning. We have to uncover the truth." The crowd swirled with panic, confusion, and revelations, leaving Claire at the eye of the storm. What lay ahead? Could they really escape the shadows looming behind them? And would the truth set them free, or shatter everything once and for all? Claire stepped into the chilling night, the shadows of uncertainty embracing her. As she neared Henry's mansion, her heart raced like a wild horse. The glimmering lights made her feel small, like a moth drawn to flames. How smooth the world outside looked, how rich and dreadful. Suddenly, the sound of laughter echoed from the mansion, wells of joy spilling over, rich and bright. Each sound was a reminder of all she had missed. She took a deep breath, pushing her back against the cold brick wall, steeling herself for what lay ahead. Then she caught a glimpse of movement. A sleek black car pulled up, purring to a stop. The door swung open with a deliberate grace, and out stepped a woman who looked like a goddess draped in silk, despite the October breeze. Claire squinted, curiosity piquing her interest. Who was she? A trophy wife? A daughter? The kind of person who had forgotten the sting of needy nights. But then, as the woman turned her head, Claire's stomach dropped. The woman's face was strikingly familiar. Dark eyes, a gentle smile. Claire could hardly breathe. It was Marie? The woman who adopted her so many years ago left that faded bite of betrayal. What was she doing here? She felt a surge of adrenaline, a wave of confusion mixed with anger. Claire gripped the worn edges of the photograph tightly, her mind racing. Memories crashed over her like waves. Marie loved flowers, stories, and warm hugs. Each moment echoed in her mind like a bell tolling for the past. But had Marie really forgotten? Just then, the heavy door of the mansion swung open and the night air thickened. A rush of guests spilled out, laughter ringing through the darkness. Claire pressed herself against the wall, barely daring to breathe. And then she saw Henry emerge. Cold, sharp features, the puppeteer of this elaborate show. He drew Marie to him, his voice low, conspiratorial. "Are you sure about this tonight?" he asked, the edge of authority tinged with something else. Something dark. "Trust me," Marie replied, her smile fading for just a moment. "Our past is buried, and it must stay that way." A dizzying realization hit Claire like a slap. Marie had chosen to leave her. Family, laughter, warmth, all thrown away as if Claire was just an afterthought. Did Marie hide the truth from Henry? Did she erase Claire intentionally? Her heart pounded in her chest, emotions swirling violently. Suddenly, the front door flung open again. A tall man with wild hair and bright eyes stumbled out. Visible panic etched clearly across his face. "They know!" he shouted, voice cracking like thunder in the night. "We have to go! Now!" "What do you mean?" Henry barked, turning sharply, fury blazing in his eyes. "I'm sorry, I didn't think." The man's frantic breaths were visible in the cold air as he clutched a strange object glinting in the light. A flash of metal. A gun? The world slowed down. Claire had to blink. Had she stepped into a world she hadn't known existed? The facade of wealth peeled back, revealing a web of secrets tangled beneath. The laughter, the elegance, the very silk dresses draping the party's attendees shimmered with danger now. Marie looked back, fear etched across her face as she locked eyes with Claire. In that moment, Claire saw something far deeper. A desperation, a need to protect. But protected from what? The man stumbled, and in an instant, an ear-splitting explosion shattered the night. Claire barely had time to react. Everything around her erupted into chaos. Screams, shouts, glass shattering. As panic surged, she ducked into the shadows, heart racing. The hope she clutched now felt heavy, burdened with the weight of secrets unraveling around her. What had she stumbled into? Was this the truth she sought, or a tangled mess that would consume her? Adrenaline surged through her veins as she realized this wasn't just a night for answers, it was a night for survival. Claire moved through the night like a ghost, her heart pounding against her ribcage. Every step took her closer to Henry's mansion, and she felt nerves tangle in her stomach. The moonlight flickered off the grand entrance, gilded and imposing. She could almost hear the laughter, the clinking of glasses, the chatter of the elite. As she approached, the soft sound of music drifted past her. It was a symphony of joy, completely disconnected from the world outside. She steadied her breath, whispering a quiet prayer that tonight she would find what she was seeking. The gala was already in full swing as she slipped through the open door, her heart racing. The opulence inside was suffocating. Bodies adorned in silk and diamonds swirled around her like a whirlwind. Rich laughter bounced off the chandelier, and heads turned, eyes sweeping over her in disapproval. Claire shuffled to the side, her hands trembling as she scanned the crowd for familiar faces. She spotted him then, Henry. He stood at the bar, his smile dazzling, the epitome of charm. As she fought to catch her breath, Another figure caught her eye. A woman with tightly pulled back hair, wearing a striking red dress, approached Henry. Her presence felt magnetic, and Claire's heart sank when she recognized her. It was the woman from the photograph, the one holding her as a child. Fear twisted deep in her gut. Why was she here? What did she want? Claire felt time slow as the woman leaned close to Henry and whispered something. Claire strained to hear, her back pressed against the wall. She could still be alive. The words hung in the air, heavy. Claire leaned in closer, straining to catch the rest. No one will find her. The deal is done. The blood rushed from Claire's head. Her mind raced. What deal? What was this woman hiding? A familiar voice cut through her thoughts, a rich laugh. Or was it a bark? The sound came from Henry, quiet and sinister, wrapping around her heart like a vice. Claire felt her world tilt. Everything she thought she knew snapped into focus and fell apart. Suddenly, it wasn't just her searching for answers. There were deeper, darker connections at play. Howard wasn't just wealthy. He was a part of a network, a web that tangled lives together in ways Claire could only begin to understand. In the crush of guests, a sudden scream erupted. The music screeched to a halt. Claire's pulse quickened as she turned toward the source of the disturbance. A body crumpled at her feet, glass shattered. A woman lay sprawled on the floor, her dress fluttering around her like a fallen bird. Claire gasped, eyes wide, but not just at the sight of the woman's lifeless body. It was the woman, the one from the photo, the one who had held her so lovingly years ago. The room erupted into chaos, with people shouting and scurrying. Some looked horrified, others merely curious. Claire felt her feet rooted to the ground, rooted in shock and confusion. But anger was bubbling inside her. Abandoned once, would she stand still now? No, she had to know. Panic swirled like smoke around her. Questions blasted through her mind. What had the woman meant? What was the deal she mentioned? Henry, unaware of her gaze, rushed toward the scene, his face a mask of concern that felt too rehearsed. And then it hit her. What if this wasn't an accident? What if this darkness ran deeper? What if this gala wasn't just a party, but a facade hiding unspeakable truths? Claire stepped back, doubts clawing at her. Could this tangled web consume her too? Before she could even process her thoughts, a hand grabbed her wrist. She spun, ready to fight, but it was a familiar face. The young man from the streets, Theo, the one she had shared bread with. Claire, we have to go, he urged, eyes wide with fear. She looked at him, torn between the fiery need for answers and the gripping darkness unraveling all around her. What had she stumbled into? And was she too late to escape? Claire stepped into the night, the cold wrapping around her like a shroud. Every step toward the grand mansion felt electric. She could almost picture the warmth inside, the laughter echoing through luxurious halls, where she belonged once, or should have belonged. But tonight, she was an intruder. As she approached the mansion, her heart raced. The gala lights flickered like stars, shimmering against the backdrop of the darkening sky. She had donned her best disguise, an old, slightly tattered dress that had seen better days but clung to her frame just right. She pulled her hair into a ragged bun, half hidden beneath her hood, and slipped through the gates. where walls held stories, secrets, and perhaps even her past. Inside, the air was thick with champagne bubbles and whispered laughter. Claire inched further into the crowd, eyes darting across faces that looked like they belonged in a magazine. She felt small, almost invisible, yet fueled by a purpose that burned brighter than the chandeliers hanging above. She needed to find answers, to confront the family that had cared for her, but then let her slip away like a fleeting dream. As she slid through swaths of silk and satin, a sudden commotion erupted at the far side of the ballroom, drawing her attention. People gasped, a wave of shock rippling through the crowd. Claire turned just as the chaos unfolded. A tall figure staggered into view, a glass of wine. She's alive! The room fell silent. All eyes turned to a doorway where a woman stood, simmering with elegance yet radiating coldness. As she stepped forward, Claire's heart stopped. It was her, the woman from the photograph, but older, colder. And then, Claire recognized the shocked man. It was Henry, the millionaire himself. Suddenly, the woman's voice boomed over the hushed crowd. "Did you really think you could erase us? Did you think you could hide forever?" Her eyes glinted with a desperate fire. Panic surged through Claire. What did she mean? Did they know she was here? Had they always known? Questions piled in her mind like stones. Just then, the woman pointed at Claire, her finger trembling with rage. "You shouldn't have come back." Then a loud crash echoed from the back of the room, shattering the tension. People screamed, scattering like leaves caught in a storm. In the chaos, Claire felt a tugging sensation inside her. A whirlwind of confusion and fear spinning her thoughts. She turned to run, but the woman's chilling laughter echoed behind her. "Claire, you're not the only one with secrets." Her heart dropped. There was a glimpse of recognition in Henry's eyes, a recognition that stretched beyond mere acquaintance. Claire stumbled as the crowd surged and parted. She was trapped in a heartbeat, disoriented in a maze of confusion. And that's when it hit her. The woman wasn't just a stranger. She was a mirror, a reflection of everything Claire wished to uncover and feared to face. A revelation struck. What if this woman held the key not just to her past, but to her very existence? With every word and laugh swirling around her, Claire forced her way through the madness. She had to know what the woman meant. ... But then came another wave. A flashing light and the sharp crack of glass. A painful silence. Something had happened. Something that tied them together in a way she never could have imagined. "Claire!" someone shouted, but she felt distant, lost in the chaos. Everything hung in the air, thick with tension and unspoken truths. Their eyes met for just a moment, and Claire felt the world shift under her. What was that connection? What dark history lay entangled between them? Time stopped. The distance between them evaporated, leaving a gaping hole where understanding should be. What did the woman mean by secrets? And what awaited Claire as the shadows of her past closed in? The mansion loomed over her like a giant, silently waiting for her to uncover what lurked behind its walls. Claire's heart raced as the beautiful woman, her former mother figure, pointed accusingly in her direction. The chaos around her blurred into background noise. All she could focus on was the hateful glint in the woman's eyes. "You shouldn't have come back." The crowd held its breath. Even Henry froze, eyes wide with disbelief. Claire took a step back, panic fluttering in her chest. Feelings she numbed bubbled to the surface. The laughter that once wrapped warmth around her felt tainted, a harbinger of pain. "What do you mean?" Claire managed, barely above a whisper. In that moment, everything shifted. The woman's face twisted into a mask of anguish. She hesitated as if caught between two worlds, but then she broke. "You don't understand. You were never supposed to remember." In the split second that followed, a crash resounded through the room. Something large. A chandelier fell, shattering against the floor. Crystal shards flew like deadly stars, sending attendees scrambling, screaming. Amid the panic, Claire's eyes darted to Henry. He looked pale, his mouth opening and closing as if words failed him. "Get her out of here," he shouted, pointing wildly at Claire. But it was too late. The fallen woman, the former mother, crumpled to the ground, fear transforming her elegance into grotesque chaos. Claire was frozen. But then came a flash of movement. A man, disheveled and wild-eyed, surged into the ballroom, as if propelled by the whirlwind. With trembling hands, he raised a gun high, and silence fell like a heavy blanket. "I know everything!" His voice thundered, shaking the very foundations of the mansion. Henry's composure shattered, revealing raw panic. "No, you're not supposed to be here!" he yelled, taking a step back. Tremors of realization rippled through the crowd. Claire's heart stopped. This man was her guardian, the one who cared for her when hope felt lost. "David?" she gasped, the name slipping from her lips like a prayer. "Yes, Claire, it's me. I tried to find you," he shouted, desperation lacing his words. "But they buried our past. The deals, the lies, it's all connected." In a heartbeat, everything shifted again. The gun shook in David's hand. "They took you away, but not to protect you. It was all a ruse. A network of lies that runs deeper than you know." The attendees recoiled, whispers of horror filling the air. Claire's mind raced. "What do you mean? What lies?" David's eyes were frantic, but then they softened as they locked onto hers. "Melissa isn't your mother. She's the reason your life was upended." The words hung like a chain of ice in the air. A wave of disbelief washed over her, followed by an aching sadness. Melissa's smile became a mask for betrayal. A life she thought was anchored by love was merely a luxurious delusion. "No!" Claire's voice trembled, heart racing. "No! How can that be?" "You deserve to know the truth," David pressed, trembling fingers uncurling to grip the gun. "You have a brother, another victim of their greed." "They will stop at nothing," the crowd gasped, confusion and shock rippling through like electric current. Then came another explosion. This time, a crack of laughter erupted from Melissa. "Enough! You're playing a dangerous game, David." Suddenly, a siren blared outside, loud and piercing, drowning everything else. Blue lights flooded the room, illuminating fear and uncertainty. "Let them come," Melissa said, eyes gleaming with a feral intensity. "You can't save her. You never could." In that moment, the narrative shifted. Claire felt the weight of her entire existence teetering. David's desperation mingled with Melissa's malevolence. Who could she trust? The walls started closing in, suffocating her with questions and revelations. As chaos erupted around her, inhaling both past and present, everything she thought she knew began to unravel. Laughter and shouts turned to screams, the past colliding with the present in unimaginable ways. Then she felt it, a growing pulse of energy around her. Whatever monster they had awakened, whatever truth lay ahead, Claire knew she had to confront it. If David was right, and she had a brother somewhere in this web of lies, she had to find him. But at what cost? As darkness surged through the mansion, Claire stood on the precipice of discovery. Caught between trust and betrayal. Would she find her future? Or face another layer of secrets meant to bury her for good? Claire stood at the threshold, heart racing, caught between the chaos inside the mansion and the dark reality unfolding before her. David's frantic eyes searched hers, but her mind spun with confusion. Melissa's laughter echoed, cruel and mocking, while the heavy scent of fear mingled with perfume and spilled champagne. Everything felt dense, electric, as if time itself had paused to hold its breath. "What do you mean, lies?" Claire stammered, her throat dry with dread. David stepped closer, every movement laced with urgency. "They buried the truth, Claire. Our lives were destroyed by their greed." But before he could continue, a deafening crash echoed through the hall. A figure stumbled through the chaos. A young boy, no older than 8, wide-eyed and trembling. Claire's heart skipped. He looked so familiar, yet painfully distant. The crowd gasped, eyes wide with confusion. The boy darted across the floor, losing himself amidst the crowd, his cries slicing through the tension. "Mommy! Mommy!" he shouted, desperation thick in his voice. Melissa's face blanched, a mask of fear replacing her fury. "Get him back! Someone stop him!" She screamed, her voice rising an octave, shattering the suffocating silence. The room erupted. Bodies shifted in every direction, panic rising like a tidal wave. Claire felt the weight of the moment crash down around her, everything spinning out of control. The boy was running towards her, a connection that crossed time and space, threads of fate interwoven. "Claire, you have to listen," David shouted. But the words drowned beneath the frantic commotion. And then, everything changed. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the room. A shot rang out, sharp and crisp, freezing time. Claire's heart dropped into her stomach as chaos erupted again. The crowd screamed, faces contorting in horror, but her gaze remained fixed on the boy. A dark streak blossomed on his shirt, a crimson bloom against the white fabric, before he crumpled to the ground, small body collapsing like a marionette cut from its strings. "No!" Claire screamed, voice raw and breaking, rushing forward as the world exploded into chaos. She pushed through terrified guests, disbelief swelling inside her like a storm. David's face twisted in shock. "What have you done?" he barked, fury mingling with anguish. Clenching the gun tighter, he faced Melissa. "This was your doing!" The air grew thick, overwhelming, suffocating. Some guests fled, while others stood frozen, mouths agape. Claire fell to her knees, shaking. She could scarcely hold herself together as the reality nailed her to the ground. This boy, her brother, she had lost him before ever finding him. And then a voice sliced through the chaos, mocking. You really didn't think you could just walk back into our lives and undo what's been done, did you? Melissa's voice dripped with venom, each word a dagger. Claire looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. What have you done? Why? With a smirk, Melissa stepped closer, eyes glinting in the dim light. Such a pity, really. They always say the past comes back to haunt you. Sometimes. But you had no idea how right they were. David stepped forward, fists trembling. You didn't. The betrayal struck him hard, and Claire felt the heat rise in the room, the revelation swirling around them like dry leaves before a storm. Claire looked from David to Melissa, anger boiling over, igniting something deep within her. He was innocent. He didn't deserve this. Melissa stood firmly, her expression darkening. Innocence is a luxury we can't afford anymore. It's just a pawn in the game we play. As the crowd whimpered and backed away in horror, uncertainty loomed over them all. Claire's heart raced, the weight of truth pressing down. Could this be the end? Or merely the beginning of a deeper darkness? Suddenly, Claire felt a ripple of energy through the crowd, a shift in the atmosphere. All eyes were on her, waiting. Could she rise from the ashes of despair? Or would this tragic turn steal away her chance for redemption? Claire knelt beside her brother, dread and disbelief crashing over her. Time crawled as she reached for him, trembling fingers brushing against warm blood pooling beneath his tiny body. No! No! Please! Her voice broke, each syllable a plea, a desperate gasp that echoed in the stunned silence of the ballroom. David stood frozen, gun wavering in his grip, his expression a mixture of horror and fury. What have you done? He shouted at Melissa, his voice raw with pain. Melissa's face twisted, shock and fear washing over her, the mask of control slipping away. The guests gaped, the stunned silence enveloping the room like a shroud. Claire's eyes darted to Henry, who stood pale and shaken, his facade cracking as reality surged forward. "Get the boy!" someone shouted, and the crowd surged toward them, a tidal wave of panic. The shimmering chandeliers cast eerie shadows, and the scent of fear hung thick. In that moment, Claire's heart surged. This wasn't just about her past anymore. This was about her family, about saving her brother. She pressed her palm against the boy's forehead, feeling the warmth fade beneath her touch. "Stay with me!" Tears streamed down her cheeks, blurring her vision. But urgency surged through her. She had to act. "Help him! Someone help!" she cried, her voice breaking. David finally moved, lunging toward Melissa, rage igniting like gasoline. "You did this!" he bellowed, the crowd inching back as he pushed her against the wall. "You wanted control! You thought you could erase us!" Melissa's voice dripped with defiance as she struggled. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. The past is buried for a reason." Claire's resolve hardened. "No, the truth can't stay buried." She faced the crowd, eyes blazing. "We deserve to know what happened. You can't silence us anymore." Gasps echoed around her. The crowd swayed uncertainly, caught between fear and intrigue. David's eyes met Claire's, and she could see the flicker of hope. Then, an unsettling noise echoed, sirens wailing outside, punctuating the moment with urgency. "They're coming!" someone yelled, and chaos erupted again. Eyes darted toward the door, panic seeping like smoke in the air. "Run!" Henry shouted, but Melissa held firm, eyes hard. This isn't over. But Claire wouldn't let fear dictate her life any longer. "We need to go. We have to find the truth together." With a burst of bravery, she grabbed David's arm, pulling him along. "We'll take him. We'll save him." He nodded, resolve hardening in his posture, and together they moved toward the boy. "Stay close," he called to the crowd. "We're not finished yet." People surged, breaking free from their paralysis. Others fled, spilling into the street like water from a breaking dam. Claire crouched low, cradling her brother, heart racing as she breathed life into his stillness. Fingers brushed against her shoulder, and she looked up, meeting the eyes of a young woman, one of the guests who had frozen in fear. "I'll help," she said, determination lighting her gaze. As they lifted the boy together, urgency thrummed in the air. Melissa's laughter echoed after them, sharp and menacing. "You think you can escape?" But Claire wasn't listening anymore. They raced toward the door, the sirens growing louder, the world buzzing with electricity. Each heartbeat pulsed with desperation and hope. She had lost so much, but this was different. This time she would not be silenced. Minutes felt like an eternity as they burst into the cool night air. The lights of the mansion behind them dimmed, a ghost of a past she was ready to leave behind. "We'll find him. We'll find the truth," she shouted, urging the others to keep moving forward. The night was void of certainty, yet the flame of hope flickered bright. What awaited them in the shadows? Could the truth really set them free from the past that haunted them all? And as they sprinted into the darkness, hearts pounding, Claire felt the tether to her old self break away, with every step forging a new path toward a future she could claim. If you've enjoyed this wild ride, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss our upcoming exclusive stories that will keep you at the edge of your seat. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help with the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this explosive ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how it all unfolds next. Don't wait even a second longer. Let's keep this incredible journey going together.